Hello and welcome to the F50 Global Capital Summit 2020, Elevating Innovation in Health Tech. I'm Roger Royse, a partner with the international law firm of Haynes and Boone, resident in Palo Alto, and I am here to moderate our panel on making food tech work for the consumer. We have a really great panel put together today to talk about the role of food and agriculture in health and health technology. So I first would like to introduce our panelists and let them say a few things about who they are and how they come to the space, what they invest in, etc. And then we're going to launch into a discussion. Briefly, we have three panelists. Seana Day, she is a partner at Mixing Bowl. She's previously been in the investment M&A advisory space and actually is a founder of a conference called Fish 2.0. So she has a lot of background in the animal aspect of food and health tech, I would say. Aaron Magenheim is the CEO and co-founder at Growers Insight and the CEO and co-founder at AgTech Insight. He's one of the pioneers in this space, at least here in this part of the country. In AgTech, he's been an entrepreneur. He's everywhere. He works globally across the agriculture and technology nexus. And then Erica Riel-Carden is a principal at the Global Capital Markets in San Francisco. She works with clients in agriculture, food, consumer products, finance, biotech, pharmaceuticals, and technology. She brings a little bit of the investment banker perspective. So before we get going, I'd like to, like I say, start with each of you telling us a little bit about yourselves and how you come to the space. And why don't we start with you, Seana?
Great, thanks, Roger. So Seana Day, I'm a partner with the Mixing Bowl and Better Food Ventures, and we do a lot of investing work in early stage ag tech and food tech companies. So we're looking at seed and pre-seed. And really the common theme with our work is information technology within the food and ag sector. So we're looking at hardware, software, and applications. I look at in-field technologies and then post-harvest from the farm gate through the distribution to the retail point. So really happy to be here and part of this discussion today.
Okay, thank you. Erica?
Hi, everybody. My name is Erica, and I am a principal investment banker at Global Capital Markets. We are industry agnostic. We're a boutique bank headquartered in Irvine, California. I am in our San Francisco office, and my industry is agriculture and food production. And what I do is raise money for companies looking for either equity or debt, so growth capital. And we usually work with companies with revenues between 10 and 50 million. So thanks so much, Roger.
Oh, thank you for being here. And Aaron.
Great, thanks for having me. I'm Aaron Magenheim, CEO and co-founder of AgTech Insight and Growers Insight. Sitting in Salinas, California, and a background in irrigation, but have moved in the technology space for about the last decade. AgTech Insight, we work with large ag and food corporates, as well as governments and nonprofits, helping them build, but specifically implement technology strategies. And then Growers Insight is a newer company that we've launched to really focus on helping farmers have success with technologies through implementation as well. So I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Okay, thanks. Why don't we stick with you, Aaron, to get started. You know, someone once told me one time that life is like a bicycle. To keep your balance, you have to keep moving. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying or not. And I know you keep moving. I see you all around the world. So tell me, what would you say about health and food and the relationship between health and food and other parts of the world that you've been to? I've seen you in China, in South America, in Southeast Asia. So give us the global perspective here as to what the challenges are and the opportunities and how technology might be able to address that.
Yeah, so, you know, there's a lot to learn as we travel, which is why I enjoy traveling. What I've seen is, you know, in the US, we've kind of over-centralized our food supply chain, which has been very relevant recently. And if you look at our health and our healthcare system, it's not very good. Our people aren't very healthy. But when you travel to other countries, especially kind of developing countries, when you're in the cities, the younger population is extremely unhealthy because they're eating fast food, they're not getting fresh food. There's a big challenge in just building a supply chain to bring fresh and healthy food into these large growing cities. But when you get out of those cities, even an hour into a province or into more of a country, people are super healthy. They're eating fresh. They're eating whatever's grown within a 20-mile radius, and it's harvested. They don't have refrigerators, so it's harvested and eaten within a day or two. Animals are harvested, and you're eating that crop in a day. And so being able to kind of look at how things have been done in different parts of the world, and then use best practices and technology to kind of build better food systems for countries, especially countries that have a little more flexibility and that are developing. There's a lot of opportunity to that. And so looking at recent crisis, it's been amazing to see how quick they could react to needs of people in the city and getting fresh food to them where it wasn't even done before. And so a company like Alibaba jumped right into helping connect farmers to consumers, and built a whole new business within a few weeks, and it's just been taking off really quickly in Southeast Asia. So.
Sounds like they have a, go ahead, Seana.
Maybe if I may, Roger, just add something to what Aaron is talking about. And this is, Aaron is talking about the developing countries. But even here, in the US, I think one of the things that is often a frustration for me. So I moved from London back to my hometown of Turlock, which is about 90 miles east of the Bay Area of San Francisco. And it's in a very sort of agricultural, rural part of California. And as I'm talking to entrepreneurs, as I'm talking to investors, there's a lot of excitement around alternative proteins and investments in the consumer experience, new meal delivery kits, whatever the sort of hottest new food product is, food ingredient is, a lot of trend setting on that front. But what I always like to remind people is, hey, come drive out to Turlock or any Central Valley town and see what the rest of the country is eating like, and see where the real challenges are, and see the food desert situation that we have here in the Central Valley. Again, so I mentioned alternative proteins. Yes, there's a real market there. There's some real benefits from a climate change standpoint, but alternative meats in the Central Valley, or sort of alternative dairy products for that matter, I think we still have to have a dose of realism about how the consumer, again, outside of urban areas, is eating, what they have access to, what level of sort of education around food and nutrition is available to them, and just be realistic. And so when you see valuations, climb higher and higher and higher for a lot of these companies, I always sort of have to pause and say, okay, how does this scale into the rest of America or the rest of the developed world? How are these companies really going to grow into those valuations, given how different the dynamics are about these markets?
I heard you both sort of talked a little bit about this grow local movement. Aaron, it sounded like the rest of the world already has that. And I've heard Erica speak about this before, about how that seems to be one of the drivers and what's going on. Can you add to that a little bit, Erica, on that theme?
On local?
Yeah, because I think what Aaron was saying is that what he sees in the undeveloped world is everything is local, and that's why they've been able to manage this latest crisis so well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thanks, Roger. I just to kind of pick up where, listening to both Seana and Aaron, one of the things, that comes up along with not only eating nutritionally, but why consumers eat, there's been a huge pushback right now in the alternative proteins movement. Kind of, I've seen people from Impossible and other companies being like, hey, we never said it was healthy. So, you eat it because you like it. There's we have a mission and we're very strong on our mission, but you are starting to see kind of, and validation and acknowledgement of it's okay to eat whatever you want to eat for whatever reason. And it's not necessarily for nutrition. So that is a theme, definitely, that I'm not sure consumers are always aware of all the time, but you're starting to see it in marketing play out. On the topic of local, so I grew up in dead center smack of the country. I grew up near St. Louis. And so I've definitely, there's a huge debate as to what local really means. What is local? There's legal definitions for it. There's ordinances for it. Most people think it's when there's a lot of data that consumers think, oh, okay, it's about 100 miles from where I am. But that could be, on a global basis, when we have such an over-centralized food distribution structure, what can be considered local is definitely very important to consumers. And they really think, you'll see it on the label, designed in California, or harvested or packed in the US, but grown somewhere else. So that's definitely a huge trend with consumers as well.
Okay. I want to circle back to something Shauna said. Aaron sent me a link to a video here this weekend that just got me thinking. And Shauna, you talked about how, a lot of these products, you got to wonder how they're going to scale and how they're going to play in Turlock. Especially when you look at these valuations. I know you probably saw the same video I did. And the criticism is that in the venture capital community, valuations are too high, they're overheated. The companies aren't focusing enough on product market fit. Are we seeing that in food tech? Are we seeing that in ag tech? And if so, is there a day of reckoning coming for a lot of these technologies and these companies?
I mean, yes, I believe so is the short answer there. And whether, again, it's not an issue of, is this not a great product? Is this not a mission aligned product? That's not what it's about. Roger, you hit the nail on the head. It's product market fit. How big of a market opportunity is this product or this category going to create in reality? Outside of the kind of, it's beyond prototype, but the betas of the kind of coastal communities. I think that's where the real question marks for me are. And that even extends into, it might be controversial here, but into vertical urban farming, where we still see huge valuations, but the numbers, just don't quite pencil yet. And that sort of track to growing into those valuations is still, I think, a meaningful question mark. Again, not to say that these are not sort of very valid, great businesses, but are they, is the valuation question going to be something that really becomes problematic for them? And, as they need to raise more and more money, what does that actually mean for the other shareholders? What does that mean for the investors? How does all this play out from a kind of capital market standpoint, I think is very much to be determined.
Anybody else have any comments on that? Or
Yeah, I'll jump in, Roger. So I've actually had this come out right now. Everyone's asking me, are you busy? Are you not busy? How's life as a banker? And right now I'm really busy, especially in the space, because you're seeing a lot of people who are very interested and want to be involved in ag tech, food tech, health tech, but don't really know where to start. And even as I'm marketing different projects, and I just last week I was talking to an M&A firm. Their whole investment mandate is to buy and hold software companies. They have several in the ag space. They're looking for a couple more, and they're asking me that, what do you think? How are the valuations going right now? And I said they're all over the place. It really just depends on what you're looking for. And he said, this investor said, yeah, no, that's exactly. We were just having this discussion the week before that, so 2 weeks ago, and we couldn't agree on a valuation, so we had to walk away. It's certainly playing out on the private equity side. I just had I had a phone call with a private equity fund who has a portfolio company, and they were getting ready to maybe do an exit for that company, but the valuation, every time they went out to talk about it, they don't even know where to start, because it's a moving target. So definitely highlighting what Sean is saying, and that it.
Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the F50 Global Capital Summit of 2020. This is the place where speakers like myself and other experts will be talking. There are great panelists and also great startups that are going to be presenting. As an investor and someone who is interested in investing in global healthcare, this is a great place to be. Myself, my name is Yuli Chetipalli. I'm the president of Innovator MD, who is a partner of F50. I would like to invite you to this exciting event that is happening during this time of the year. And also, this is one of the largest events that you may have been to. So this is going to be exciting. I would like to welcome you to this event. F50 Global Capital Summit 2020.
Yet for what type of multiplier or how much of a valuation that technology should play in the food space.
So kind of getting back to, I guess, our main topic, which is consumer focused and making AgTech work for the consumer. We talked about some of the health aspects of it, and sometimes health is not maybe the biggest issue for our consumers. What other technologies are you seeing that are very consumer focused and consumer oriented and are benefiting the consumer, especially as it relates to health? Somebody mentioned delivery kits, which sounds like it'd be a good business to me, but what do I know? Alternative proteins, is there anything else out there that we should be aware of?
There are, yeah, there are a couple cropping up that kind of came up after. So there was a wave of technology like breathalyzers where you could blow to look for food sensitivities and allergies. And now you're starting to see that same type of technology being marketed to the consumer. I cannot think of the company I'm thinking of right now, but it's a breathalyzer, you blow on it, but it's for your trying to censor when you should eat. How is your body? There's a lot of, I don't know what the trend would be, but essentially measuring different biometrics within your body using different types of hardware to try and quote, hack your gut or hack your metabolism. That seems pretty hot this year.
There's something that's interesting to me with such a global industry and that I get frustrated with all the time is, you go to the store and you buy an apple, or you go to the store and you buy, strawberries. One basket's great, you go get another basket and it's horrible. And so, because there's hundreds of varieties of these products out there. And so I kind of envision in the future being able to go to the store and see, a standardized rating of, and they're kind of doing this with apples and a couple other things, but, being able to see, hey, what type of flavor profile does this have? What type of sustainability was this grown with? How old is it? What other positive or negative things does this product have? And there's a couple companies that are going after that market, and to me, that makes a lot of sense, because avocados is one where you can have, great avocado, it tastes really good. It's got a bunch of good fat and stuff in it, and then you get others that are just horrible. And so, is that a matter of how long it was sitting in cold storage? Sometimes tomatoes, it's a matter of they pick them green and they gas them so they look good when you get them. So consumers don't understand how a lot of this stuff works, and I think these kind of technologies that will help consumers understand. Now, it's hard because it's a complex supply chain. You have to start tracking this at a grower level all the way through that supply chain on what happened. But when I lived in Texas, I got to where I would not buy fresh fruit, vegetables, or anything because it was so bad most of the time, or it would be rotten within a day or two. So it was really tough. So from a consumer standpoint, there's a lot of challenges to get what you're looking for, because our supply chain is just kind of filling holes, that are needed, or that are empty. And so I think that there's a lot of opportunity there, and we're seeing some companies that using different types of imaging and sensors on a piece of fruit, it can tell you what the shelf life is, what the proteins are, what the different attributes are. And so then, if you're able to couple that with health, with going to a doctor and a doctor saying you should eat this type of diet, now you can start not just saying, well, you need to eat more fruits and vegetables, but hey, you need to eat fruits and vegetables with these specific characteristics. So that's a trend that I think is interesting, and I'm pretty positive will grow over time. And then you're not dumping sugar onto I moved to Texas and they dumped sugar onto a strawberry, and I go, what are you talking about? Like, okay, yeah, it tastes horrible, so you have to put sugar on it, but I had never done that before. So.
And then they fry it and put it in a bottle of whiskey, right? Aaron, on that, do consumers care? Because you might remember when we had our Erica certainly remembers when we had our AgTech incubator, we saw companies that had sensors, pathogen detectors, ripeness detectors with spectral imaging, even chemical detectors. And I remember the feedback we got from Sandhill Road is that consumers don't care about that. Of course, that was 10 years ago. Go sell it to the farmer, maybe they care. Have things changed so that those technologies now have a fighting chance?
Things are changing drastically, and I see the most demand changing again in developing countries, and it's all being driven by social media. So, there's weird things that I've seen that, people are watching videos of someone just biting into a piece of something and eating that, and they're not even explaining what it tastes like. And so there's some weird things that there's literally hundreds of millions of followers, and so it's all social media driven. It's driven by, I'm 36, it's driven by people that are 10 years or more younger than me. And so what's happening is you have people. So to me, the people that care, and when you look at global trends and surveys and stuff that have been taken, it's really it's the younger people that are making 100 times more than their parents made, have access to more money to buy different types of food, and see what's going on through social media. And again, I think we have amazing opportunity through health and agriculture to tell a story to these people because they're listening, but we're not doing a great job at it. So does a consumer care? They are caring more. Do you switch your whole business to that, to cater to that consumer? Can't do that at this point, but in the next few years, just like organic was nothing 35 years ago, and now it's mainstream that everybody knows about and buys.
Well, getting to, Erica, you might be able to comment more on this, but when you think about mission-driven brands, we see more and more artisanal, this or small sort of batch, regenerative, sustainable, all those things that we see that there's a real consumer demand for these smaller brands. One of the things I'm intrigued with and looking at different technologies to help those brands actually access the ingredients that they need to fulfill that mission, right? So if you're you have a particular almond bar that you've said is, we're only sourcing from regenerative farmers. Well, actually going out and delivering on that claim with the ingredients that you can validate that have been grown in X, Y, and Z regenerative way is really difficult. And it's difficult for a couple of reasons. One, just because there's a lack of information, a lack of data to track from that farming operation through the supply chain, but also how do those small brands even source those products? How do they find those producers? And that's been a real big challenge. And more often now I'm seeing sort of these boutique or niche marketplaces pop up that are able to kind of connect those growers. We're still in the early days, but I'm kind of excited about that because it's effectively shortening the supply chain. It's creating a more niche sort of connection for those brands to really flourish. And so, that's kind of in a way, decommodization, right? Then that farmer is paid more theoretically, or you've given them, at least more of a reason to say, look, because I can validate what I'm doing, it deserves a premium, and you have a premium product.
Yeah, definitely. On that premium product note, I agree, both with Aaron and Shauna. I'm really excited to see what happens in the next 5 years with food. Even all the way back at the seed companies, I mean, they are, trait selection, even at R&D. I mean, it's being driven by what consumers want now. It always was, even when they were breeding to have a harder tomato, escaping from flavor. But, for packing or logistics, it was always, the food supply chains always listen to what consumer wants, but consumer preferences as the supply chain, would always pay for different focus groups, A/B tests. And I think it's, I forget who in the Salinas Valley, but somebody had a really awesome quote that you never know what the consumer is going to pick. 5-10 years ago, microgreens were weeds. Nobody wanted that. Everybody wanted iceberg lettuce, and now everybody wants these weeds. What one grower would say. So I'm really excited. What Sean is talking about with the sourcing and supply chain. People realize and understand now that growers as a population, growers are decreasing. And so when you think about, well, who and where are they sourcing it from? Well, everything's interconnected. So how we as a society and as consumers find and understand and build those connections back to the supply chain is really exciting.
And Roger, one other thing, this is great. We're kind of, each one of us are getting inspired to say something else, but comments. But I guess shameless promotion, but we're invested in a company called Analytic Flavor Systems. And what's been fascinating to watch about that company is they're really digitizing that process of taste panels. Big CPG companies in their R&D departments run tasting panels, and it's people sitting in a room talking about how things taste and taking copious notes. And now that process is becoming digitized, and you can really then micro target, right? So if you are a Chinese coastal millennial female and you're looking to market to that population a new brand of potato chips, this technology can predict what's going to be most appealing. And I think that kind of that move towards more digitalization across the ingredients, across the entire food chain is just becoming more and more exciting. And it's little pockets that, you don't even think about. Like prior to Analytic Flavor Systems, I don't think I'd thought a lot about what those tasting panels even consisted of, but there's a huge market for it. So I think it's like both the other folks have said, it's a very exciting time to be, on the forefront of what's happening in food tech and ag tech now.
Okay, well, that's a lot of information. I guess I would have to conclude that tech is working for the consumer in this space. Slowly but surely, it's a lot of new stuff. I always learn something from these panels. I wouldn't have guessed there was that sort of technology in tasting. So with that, folks, I'd like to thank you for being here today. I'd like to thank F50 for the Global Capital Summit. And I hope you'll tune in for the rest of the panels. This is part of a half day of presentations on how food and technology can work towards health. And I'm Roger Royse with Haynes and Boone Law Firm with Global F50 Summit. Thank you.